ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to Wisdom of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the last session, we have completed Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of the entire canto in probably 15 minutes. 10, probably. I was thinking of 10 minutes, but it is too difficult to do in 10 minutes. So probably let us see. 15, 20 minutes. We'll try to do a quick recap of Canto 1 and then we will start Canto 2. So in Canto 1, we had 19 chapters and total 808 verses were there in this first canto. So it started in with the chapter 1, which was named as Questions by the Sages. We saw there in this chapter that great sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi, they were assembled at Naimisharanya for a 1,000-year sacrifice, mainly to satisfy the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And there they gave the Vyasa sent to Sutta Goswami, praised him, gave him a lot of blessings, and then asked him these 6 wonderful questions. So, what is the ultimate good for the people in general? What is the essence of all scriptures? And what is the purpose of Krishna's appearance? And they also wanted to know about the Purushavasaras and Leelavataras of the Supreme Lord. And they wanted to know, where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? Where did the religion go after Krishna has departed from this material world, from this planet? So Suta Goswami starts answering these questions in the second chapter. And he mentions, to answer the first 2 questions, he speaks this very famous verses. Savai pumsa paro dharmo Yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaitukya apratihata yayatma suprasidati vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitaha janayatyashu vairagyam jnanam cha yadahaitukam. So in these verses, he answers the first two questions. What is the absolute and ultimate good for all people? He says that developing love of Godhead through process of bhakti. Bhaktir adhokshaje or Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga. So developing love of Godhead through the process of bhakti is the absolute and ultimate good for all people in general. And what is the essence of all scripture? The same thing. The process of bhakti, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, unmotivated and uninterrupted, ahaitukya apratihata. That is the essence of all scriptures. In the same chapter, little later on, Sutta Goswami answers the question number 3. What is the purpose of Krishna's appearance? So Lord Krishna appears to reclaim people who are in predominantly mode of goodness. And then he also explains the 3 Purushavataras in the chapter. In the next chapter, chapter 3, he explains, Sutta Goswami is explaining the various Leelavataras. And while explaining the Leelavataras, he gives 22 Leelavataras. And at the end of explaining all these Leelavataras, he gives this emperor verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete cham sakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. And through this verse, he establishes that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That all these avatars that he mentioned, they are either Kala or they are Amshas. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he also explains where did the religion take a shelter after Krishna's departure? By the verse, Krishna swadham upagate dharma jnana dhivisaha kalau nashta drishamesha puranarko dhunoditaha. That the religion has taken shelter in Srimad Bhagavatam after Krishna's departure. Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation. It's non-different from the Supreme Lord. So actually, Krishna hasn't left. Krishna has, in his Krishna's form, he has gone, but he has still appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 4th chapter, which is titled as Appearance of Sri Narada, at the beginning of this chapter, the Shaunakadi Rishis ask few more questions to Sutta Goswami. And mainly they are in the 3 categories. That what is the history of Srimad Bhagavatam? When, where, why, and by whose inspiration did Vyasa compile Srimad Bhagavatam? And they also asked about the speaker and the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam. So tell us about Parikshit Maharaj, his birth, activities, and his renunciation. And about Shukadeva Goswami, how did Hastinapur citizens recognize him? And how did his meeting with Parikshit Maharaj take place? And then Sutta Goswami starts answering these questions. First, about the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, how it appeared. And Sutta Goswami explains that how Vyasadeva was feeling despondent even after he has compiled, he segregated the Vedas into 4 parts. He wrote 18 Puranas. He has written Vedanta Sutra. He has written Mahabharata. And after writing so many scriptures, he was still feeling incomplete and unsatisfied. So, and he started wondering, what is the cause that I have done so many things, but why I'm still feeling incomplete? And he started thinking that probably it is because I haven't emphasized on the process of bhakti in my scriptures, in my writing. And at that time, while he's thinking like this, Narad Muni, his spiritual master, appears in front of him. Narad Muni, in the fifth chapter, explains to Vyasadeva that there are two defects in your writings. First of all, there is insufficient broadcasting of Lord's glories. And the second problem is that you have given too much emphasis on to the four Purusharthas instead of uh, giving emphasis to Lord's glories. So people in general are interested in enjoyment, and because you have given too much emphasis on those four Purusharthas, people forget dharma and moksha, but just focus on artha and kama. So this is the main problem, and that is why you are feeling incomplete, unsatisfied, despondent. Narad Muni further explains that there are two kinds of literatures: materialistic literature and the transcendental literature. So materialistic literature is, he compares that to the pilgrimage place of crows. And he says that the saintly people are not interested in such kind of scriptures. Whereas the transcendental literature, even if there are some defects, still the devotees are very happy to hear, sing, and accept such literature. And then Narad Muni mentions to Vyasadeva that even like a small amount of bhakti is a permanent asset, and it transforms the heart and transforms the person. And to explain this, the point that he had mentioned, Narad Muni starts explaining his own story of his past life. So we see in chapter 6 that Narad Muni explains that how he was fortunate enough in the previous life as a son of maid servant, he was able to serve some Bhakti Vedantis. And after he has heard from them for the 4 months of Chaturmas while they were staying in that village, and he was serving them, and he ate some remnants of food as well with their permission. And after that, when they had left, he explains how his mother uh, gets beaten by the snake and passes away. Taking that as a special mercy of the Supreme Lord, this small boy, Narad Muni, in his previous life, he starts going in the same direction as the Bhakti Vedantis had gone, and then following in their footsteps and doing deep meditation, he finally receives the darshan of the Paramatma within his heart. But that darshan disappears. But even after that as well, the small boy continues for the whole life, worshipping the Supreme Lord. And at the end of his life, he gets the form of Narad Muni. So that is how he explains that a little service that he had done to the Bhakti Vedantis and little bit knowledge that he had received from them, and the purification that he received by eating the remnants of Mahaprasad, like remnants of prasad from the Bhakti Vedantis, completely changed his life. After explaining his whole story, Narad Muni leaves, and Vyasadeva, in his trance, he sees the Supreme Lord. He also sees the jivas who are struggling under the effects of Maya, and he understands that actually all of these problems of the living entities will easily go away if they are able to do the bhakti of the Supreme Lord. And to make it easy for them, he then wrote or compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. So after explaining all of this, then which is now Srimad Bhagavatam, the first question was answered by Sutta Goswami. He now goes on to explain Parikshit Maharaja's birth. But he starts little bit early in that history. So he starts at the end of the Kurukshetra war, where Ashwathama kills the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. And then, of course, Draupadi and all the Pandavas were very much aggrieved by that. And in the anger, then Arjuna takes a vow that he will kill Ashwatthama. And along with Krishna, Arjuna then chases Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama is running in the fear of Arjuna, but Arjuna arrests Ashwatthama and brings him back to Draupadi. But Draupadi, being very compassionate in her heart, she doesn't want to kill Ashwatthama. So finally, there was quite a lot of back and forth and discussion about whether to kill or not to kill Ashwatthama. But finally, Krishna gives the solution, and based on that, then Arjuna severs his jewel on his forehead as well as his hair, and then they let him go instead of killing him. In chapter 8, we saw that Ashwatthama, even after being punished like this, still tries to kill Pandavas once again by Brahmastra. And along with that, he also fires a Brahmastra to the last heir of Pandava, who is the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara, who is still inside the womb of Uttara. At that time, Krishna, after the prayers of Uttara, Krishna actually enters in the womb of Uttara and protects Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. Kunti Maharani, seeing all of this and remembering all the situations in which the Lord Krishna has saved herself and Pandavas, she offers wonderful prayers. And very famously, she says that I want repeated calamities to come into my life. Vipada santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru. Bhavato darshanam yat syad apunarbhava darshanam. So she's saying, basically, the main point there is that she's saying that all these calamities which are coming into my life, I can bear the pain of these calamities. But if you are going from our life, then I can't bear the pain. And whenever there are calamities, you are there. So it is better for us to have these calamities and have you in our life than the calamities and you both are gone. So that is what her mood is. So, of course, very wonderful prayers, other verses as well in that prayers that we have seen. After that, what happens is Kunti is asking for more and more association, but Krishna just smiles. But he still stays back after Yudhishthira Maharaj um, persuades him, and looking at how Yudhishthira Maharaj is feeling responsible for the entire war and all these killings which have happened in the war. So looking at that, then Krishna stays back for some more time in Hastinapur. In chapter 9, which is entitled as the passing away of Bhishma Dev, we saw that the Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he was still feeling aggrieved and he's still thinking that he's responsible, even after Krishna tried to explain to him that he is not responsible for it. So Krishna decides to take him to Bhishma Dev, and also the purpose is to actually give darshan to Bhishma Dev before he passes away. So Bhishma Dev is still on Kurukshetra. He's lying on the bed of arrows, and he had this Ichha Mrityu uh, benediction that he can leave his body at his own will. So he's waiting for the right time. He's waiting for Lord Shri Krishna to come in front of him before he can leave his body. He pacifies, in that situation as well, he pacifies Yudhishthira Maharaj and gives him instructions on various different subjects. But the most important part, he explains to him that all of these trials were part of Lord's inconceivable plan in the form of time. And he has to just surrender to the will of the Lord. And the Lord wants him to rule the kingdom because Lord wants to establish dharma. So he should just surrender to that will and do his duty. After that, Bhishmadev offers wonderful prayers and then remembers Krishna as the Partha Sarathi, and then he leaves his body in full consciousness of the Lord with and taking darshan of the Lord. Afterwards, finally, Krishna decides to leave Hastinapur and go to Dwarka. But when he starts leaving Hastinapur, we saw that the devotees were overwhelmed by the emotions. They were trying to stop their tears and they were almost fainting. And the ladies of Hastinapur, they were looking at Lord Shri Krishna from the rooftops of their houses, and they glorified Lord Shri Krishna in various different ways. And Lord Shri Krishna is listening to them, and he's finding those words of the ladies of Hastinapur more attractive than the Vedic hymns. So, along with Arjuna and Satyaki and few others, finally Lord Shri Krishna leaves Hastinapur towards Dwarka. And when he reaches Dwarka, in chapter 11, we saw that first thing that he does after reaching the boundary of Dwarka is that he blew his conch shell. So that is an indication, an announcement to Dwarka that I have come. And that immediately dispelled the fear of all the citizens by the sound of conch shell. And they started running uh, in whatever situation they were in, they started running towards Lord Shri Krishna, carrying lots of gifts for the Lord. The Lord also um, acknowledge each one of them differently, yes, and including Balaram, including his parents, and everyone, all the citizens of Dwarka, he acknowledged. And then finally, he expanded himself to 16,108 times and entered the palace, entered each queen's palace. After taking this little detour about um, Queen Kunti, Bhishma Dev, and the prayers and everything, he comes back. Suta Goswami comes back to the topic of Parikshit Maharaj, because all of this started because he wanted to explain the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. So he explains here in the chapter 12, birth of Emperor Parikshit. He explains how Parikshit Maharaj appeared in this world, and all these Brahmanas who came to uh, to give blessings to Parikshit Maharaj, and they were astrological experts as well. They predicted Parikshit's future qualities. Like he had just appeared, he had just been born, but they are also explaining what is going to happen in his future and what kind of qualities this person is going to have. And they compare him, they say that he is going to be as good as Lord Shri Krishna in the qualities. And of course, there are so many other qualities which are mentioned about Parikshit Maharaj. And they finally name him as Parikshit, the examiner, because from birth he searched for the supreme person he had seen within the womb. Every person who comes in front of him, he will look at him to see whether he is the supreme Lord that he has seen within the womb. And he says, no, this is not the person. This is not the person. He's always looking for Lord Shri Krishna. Now, Parsuta Goswami wants to explain how Parikshit Maharaj became the king. So again, he starts little bit uh, in ahead early in the history, and he starts explaining how Vidura returns from his pilgrimage, and he chastises Dhritarashtra, and he gives very um, harsh words sometimes in these instructions that he gives to Dhritarashtra. He compares him to a household dog of Bhima, and why he should be living his life like this, and he should now focus on his spiritual progress. So, inspired by Vidura's words, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, then they secretly leave without telling anyone. They leave Hastinapur and go to Himalayas, and there they perform yoga and then achieve liberation. Yudhishthir Maharaj and Sanjaya, they are actually lamenting back in Hastinapur that where are my blind uncle and my aunt has gone. So Narad Muni comes there to pacify Yudhishthir Maharaj, explain everything to him, and says that there is no point in looking for him because he is um, going to leave this world very soon in the fire that he will create from his own body. So Narad Muni also explains to him that it is the Lord only who brings all the people together and then separate them, just like the playthings, like the player put the Lego blocks together and then they remove to dismantle it. So similarly, the Lord brings people together and then and separates all of them. In the chapter 14, we saw that Yudhishthir Maharaj starts seeing very fearful omens in his kingdom, such as quivering his own body. The jackals are vomiting fire, the deities in the temple appearing to cry, and so many things that he starts seeing in this world. And he starts understanding that what could be the reason for it, that all of these are symptoms of Kali, and this can only happen when the Lord has left this world. At the same time, Arjuna returns from Dwarka, and he is looking very dejected and very pale, having it looked like that he had lost all the luster of his body. So Yudhishthira Maharaj inquires and asks various different questions about why this could be. And finally, he asks him, is it because Krishna, your dear friend, has left this earth? In chapter 15, finally, Arjuna explains that yes, that is true, the Lord has left. After hearing this, um, and in the chapter, we also saw that Arjuna remembers all these wonderful pastimes and how Lord Shri Krishna had reciprocated with Pandavas uh, in different times in their life. And then he remembers Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and pacifies himself. After hearing this, Yudhishthira Maharaj decides, this is it. I'm I'm retiring. And Yudhishthira Maharaj enthrones Parikshit as the king. And then he retires to north. The other Pandavas and Draupadi also, they soon follow and they go, all of them go back to Godhead. Parikshit Maharaj starts ruling, and he is a perfect Krishna conscious leader. He's protecting all species, not only human beings, but all animals, all species. Um, he's protecting, and he's ensuring that all the religious principles are flourishing in his kingdom. But then, when he starts seeing some anomalies in his kingdom, where he's thinking that some Kali Yuga effect is starting to come, so he decides to actually go and capture Kali and kill him. So while he is wandering, he sees Dharma in the form of a bull and Earth in the form of a cow. They are conversing uh, and lamenting about the influence of the Kali. So at that time, um, Pa- Parikshit Maharaj pacifies both the bull and the cow, and he wants to actually punish the Kali who is trying to beat both of them, the bull and cow. So Parikshit Maharaj takes up his sword and he wants to kill Kali. But Kali takes shelter of Parikshit Maharaj and says that I am a surrendered soul, so please give me some places in your kingdom to stay. So taking compassion, Parikshit Maharaj gives him 5 places to stay. So the places are where gambling is happening, drinking is happening, prostitution is happening, animal slaughter is happening. So when these 4 places are given, Kali is not satisfied. He's thinking that in your kingdom there is no such place. So please give me another place. So that is where he gives the 5th place, which is where the gold is hoarded. And in that discussion, we saw that how dharma is standing on austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And these four things, intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, and gambling, they break these principles and pillars of dharma. And that is why we have to actually follow the four related principles of no intoxication, no illicit sex, no meat eating, and no gambling, so that we avoid breaking the pillar. So that is how Parikshit Maharaj punished and rewarded Kali. So continuing on the life story of Parikshit Maharaj, how Suta Goswami now is explaining um, the death of Parikshit Maharaj, how that happened, how he renounced everything. So he explained that once upon a time that like once Parikshit Maharaj was on the hunting expedition, and at that time he became fatigued and he became thirsty, and in that fatigue and thirst he entered um, the hermitage of Shamik Rishi, who was in meditation. And when he asked for some water from to Shamik Rishi, Parikshit Maharaj asked for some water to Shamik Rishi. He was in meditation, he did not hear, but Parikshit Maharaj thought that he's ignoring me and became a bit angry. And in that anger, he put a dead snake on the shoulders of uh, the sage and he left. But as soon as he left from there, he started repenting that I didn't do this activity was really not good. And Lord Shri Krishna will be unhappy with me and let some calamity come and punish me. So when Shamik Rishi's son Shringi, he hears the activity or the act of Parikshit Maharaj, he became very angry and he gave a curse to the king to die in 7 days from the bite of Takshak. A snake bird will come and bite you in 7 days, and that is how um, he will die. But when Shamik Rishi wakes up from his meditation, hearing the cries of Shringi, he doesn't give any importance to the snake which is around his shoulders. He just throws it away. And when he hears what has happened, he is regretful. He understands that his son has done a great sin because Parikshit Maharaj is not an ordinary person. He's a king, and king is the representative of the Supreme Lord. And not only that, Parikshit Maharaj is not only the representative of the Supreme Lord, he is a wonderful devotee, a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. So he's not very happy with the activities, sorry, the curse done by Shringi. And he prays to the Supreme Lord for his protection. At the same time, he sends a message to Parikshit Maharaj to let him know that this is going to happen. When Parikshit Maharaj hears that he is going to die within 7 days, he immediately gives up his kingdom. He installs Janmejay as a king, and then he sits on the bank of the Ganges to fast until death, fixing his mind on the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So at that time, we saw that all these sages from all around the universe they appear at that place, and Parikshit Maharaj asks them. He explains to them that this is my intention, that this is what I'm going to do. I have actually given up my kingdom. I'm going to sit here, and then I'm going to fast till death, remembering only the Supreme Lord. And he asked them two questions. What is the duty of everyone? And especially the second question is, what is the duty of a person who is dying? So all these sages who have assembled there, they're discussing and debating about what answers to give to Parikshit Maharaj. At that time, Shukadeva Goswami appears there. And Shukadeva Goswami is appearing like a madman. He's coming like an avadhuta. And uh, the the children and women, they are following him, but not understanding his glories. But when he appears there in the assembly of the sages, almost all the sages stand up. They understand the divine qualities of Shukadeva Goswami. They give him the Vyasasan, and then at that time Parikshit Maharaj surrenders to Shukadeva Goswami and offers his obeisances and asks him the same question that he had asked to the sages. And also he asks us further question about what are the activities, what should we hear, chant, and remember. So that is the question that he asks to Shukadeva Goswami. And that is where we have finished Canto 1, Chapter 19, the appearance of Shukadeva Goswami. It took little more than 15 minutes. Yeah. Big canto, and even though we are just speaking for two lines on 2 or 3 lines on each chapter, it takes a while. So this is where we are going to start our second canto, and the chapter 1 of second canto. This canto, sorry, canto 2 is having 10 chapters in total, and it has 393 verses in this canto. This is the smallest canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But that doesn't mean that it is the easiest to understand. It is the smallest but very, very technical canto. So it is very difficult to grasp. It is, Canto 1 was like free flowing. There were quite a lot of pastimes, and it just was flowing very smoothly. But Canto 2 is bit intellectually, it gives some challenges to understand. So we'll try to understand this slowly. We are we are going to take, at least for this first chapter, we will take 2 sessions. This chapter 1, Canto 2, it is entitled The First Step in God Realization. So this is where Shukadeva Goswami is going to start to speak. Remember, in the first canto, Shukadeva Goswami hasn't spoken yet. He had just arrived. We have actually heard Shukadeva's words through Suta Goswami speaking to Shravanakadi rishis. But they were like the knowledge received of Srimad Bhagavatam by Suta Goswami in the assembly, where Shukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj. And whatever he assimilated, then he was explaining to Shravanakadi rishis. So that is also Srimad Bhagavatam. That is also the words of Shukadeva Goswami. But these are as Suta Goswami understood and explained. But now we are going to hear directly from Shukadeva Goswami. There are 39 verses, and Srila Prabhupada starts Canto 2 again with this invocation of Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he gives a summary of what was Canto 1. Srila Prabhupada mentions that the first canto may be called creation, Sarga. Now we will think, Sarga, where was the creation explained in the Canto 1? Actually, creation is coming from the Supreme Lord. And in the first canto, Supreme Lord, like Lord Shri Krishna, has been established firmly as the Supreme Lord through the Emperor verse or the first verse, Janmadhyasya Yathonvayad. So, and throughout the canto, we saw that Krishna and Krishna Bhakti has been given supreme importance. So, all the creation comes from the Supreme Lord, and because the Supreme Lord has been explained in this first canto, it is also called creation. And the second canto is called Visarga. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that it is called, in English, it is the cosmic manifestation. And he also mentions about the 10 chapters. He gives, talks briefly about the questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj at the end of the Canto 1. And that is where like the purport of that invocation completes. So a brief overview of this chapter. This chapter starts where Shukadeva Goswami praises the questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj. And then he starts answering that what shouldn't be heard and remembered before he explains what should be heard and remembered. Then he talks about the quality of life matters more than the quantity. And this is specifically, these verses are 12 to 14 are spoken because, and this is even at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, because Parikshit Maharaj would be having this problem and he's thinking that I only have 7 days remaining. Now, is that enough for realizing the Supreme Lord? So that is why at the beginning itself, that doubt has been killed by Shukadeva Goswami. And he gives the example of Khatwanga Maharaj, and we will speak about that today. And then he speaks about Ashtanga Yoga for attaining liberation. And we'll see why he spoke about Ashtanga Yoga instead of Bhakti Yoga directly. So we'll see all of that. So that is how this chapter is going to progress. So Parikshit Maharaj asked these two questions. What is the ultimate duty of every person? And especially one who is about to die. And what he should hear, chant, and remember, and what he should not do. So we'll start how Shukadeva Goswami is going to answer these questions. Text 1. Sri Shuka Uvacha Varyanesh te prashna Kruto lokahitam nripa Atmavit sammata pumsa Shrotavyadishu yaparaha. Yes, go ahead, Vikas Prabhu. Then Vishakha.
Hare Krishna. Sri Sukhdev Goswami said, My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So it is not that Shukadeva Goswami has immediately started speaking about the questions which are asked. Before he even starts answering those questions, he first thing that he is doing, he is saying that, wow, these are amazing questions, Parikshit Maharaj. He's praising the questions themselves, wonderful questions. And he gives reasons as well. He just doesn't say that these are wonderful questions. He says why these are wonderful questions. First reason, they are loka hitam. They are going to benefit all people. They are not only going to benefit you, Parikshit Maharaj, and the people sitting in front of us, but they are going to benefit everyone. They are lokahitam. The second reason why they are good questions is Atmavit Sammataha. All these Atmavit, they are transcendentalist. Your questions are approved by them. They like your questions. So they are beneficial for all people as well as all the transcendentalists, they have approved your questions. And the third reason is Atmavit Sammata Pumsam Shrotavyadishu Yaparaha. So the answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing. So just one or two questions Parikshit Maharaj has asked, and Shukadeva Goswami, who is the leader of the assembly, where people like Vyasadev, Narad Muni, and Parashar Muni, and so many other sages who are sitting there, he is the leader of them, and he is praising not the answers, but he is praising the questions. And we saw the same thing happening when Shaunaka Rishi asked the questions to Suta Goswami. Suta Goswami as well, before answering the questions, he said, Munaya sadhu prushtoham bhavadbhir loka mangalam yat krita Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. He also actually praised those questions saying that these are bhavadbhir loka mangalam. They are very beneficial to everyone. And these are related to Lord Shri Krishna. And that is why your questions are very, very wonderful. They are yenatma suprasidati. They are ultimately beneficial and they are pacifying to the heart. So, because all the questions and the answers which leads to discussion about Krishna, they are good questions. So the question of Maharaj Parikshit has been, that is why the glorified by Shukadev Goswami, because now this is going to lead to speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. In the purport, we are seeing that Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita, and especially he refers to 4.9 of Bhagavad Gita. 4.9, where Lord Shri Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. So, anyone who knows Krishna's activities and appearance, by hearing about the Krishna's activities and appearance, what will happen? Tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. So these people will go back to Godhead. They will not come back here on this in this material world. So all of this starts when someone who's very keen, they ask questions about Lord Shri Krishna. So when will we hear about Lord's appearance and activities? Only when someone is keen to understand it. Someone asks some questions, then the speaker is going to speak about these topics. And after hearing these topics, Krishna has said that Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvata tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mameti soarjuna. We will go back to Godhead just by hearing about this. And that is why Srila Prabhupada is comparing um, this discussion to um, the Ganges water. If you see, towards the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is comparing that to Ganges water. They are compared to the Ganges water which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges water go, they purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Similarly, Krishna Katha or the topics of Krishna are so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned becomes purified. So it is not only the hearer is getting purified by speaking Krishna Katha, the speaker is also getting purified. The place where the Krishna Katha is mentioned, is being spoken, that also gets purified. And everyone else who's hearing, everyone gets purified by that Krishna Katha. So that is how the wonderful question can lead to Krishna Katha and why that is so important. So I'll ask all of you to write down one specific question about Krishna that you have been always hesitant to ask. Anything that you have something in your heart about Lord Shri Krishna that you have been hesitating to ask, please write it down. And when your spiritual master or some senior devotee that you find, at that time you can ask those questions to them. And that way, we will be able to get the benefit of Bhagavad Gita 4.9, as well as what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, that the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned becomes purified. So we will become the instrument by asking that question, that not only will get purified, but everyone else will also get benefited. Okay. Text 2. श्रोतव्यादिनि राजेन्द्र नृणां सन्ति सहस्रशः अपश्यताम् आत्मतत्त्वं गृहेषु गृहमेधिनाम्.
Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here, from in the second verse, third verse, and fourth verse, 2, 3, 4, Shukadeva Goswami is now explaining what should not be chanted, heard, and remembered. And he's explaining that the materially engrossed people, Grhamedhis, they have unlimited things to hear, but they are blind to Atma Tattva. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam. So they are interested in all and everything in the world that is there, except for Atma Tattva, which is the most important thing. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually talks about what is the difference between Grhasthas and Grhamedhis. He's saying that the householders, they are living transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. So the householders who are interested in knowing about Atma Tattvas, they are Grhasthas. And the householders living only for family's material benefit, they are only focusing on how they can materially progress. They are Grhamedhis. They are not interested in Atma Tattva. They are not interested in ultimate truth. Grihasthas, they are focused on one essential truth, one essential subject, which is Lord Shri Krishna. In this purport, in the second paragraph, let's read the first line. Vidushi Mataji, the process of going back, just one line. Or
The
Uma Mataji.
process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and his name, form, variegatedness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think your internet was having some issues, but okay. So the process of going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and his name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. So this is the one subject that we should be here and to chant and remember. So Grhasthas are focused on these, whereas Grhamedhis, they have many subjects of hearing. Political, social, scientific, economic, and so on. And especially one new category which was not existent at that time when Srila Prabhupada was writing, otherwise he would have added social media as the first point there. But finally, social media is covering all these subjects which are mentioned. Social media, news channels, or the news articles, YouTube, TV, Netflix, and there are so many topics which are there. So, Grhamedhis have many things to chant, hear, and remember. They are always engrossed in various topics, and that is why they have no time. This is the general answer. Whoever you ask to start chanting one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra or attend the Bhagavad Gita classes, they say, Prabhuji, we have no time. It is very busy. Where do we find time? Actually, there is a lot of time available. It is just that we are wasting it in the topics which are not important for the human form of life. So, one of the questions that we should ask is how much of what we consume in a day, like through this news channel or TVs or social media or whatever way that we are doing, or how much of that in each day actually addresses the problem of birth, death, old age, and disease, the real problems that we face. And even the devotees can actually start noticing one category of a daily hearing, whether it is news, social media, or some gossip which is happening, and trade the 10 minutes of it with hearing about Krishna. So basically any Grhamedhi activities, every day, 10 or 15 minutes, we should actually move from Grhamedhi to Grhastha. Focus from material activities onto Krishna conscious activities. anything like news or Netflix or whatever, YouTube or social media that we are consuming, reduce that by 10-15 minutes and push that time towards Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is how it will be beneficial for all of us. Further, Shukdev Goswami is explaining. Nidrayarhyate naktam vyavayena ch vavayaha divacharthe haya rajan kutumba bharanena va.
Hare Krishna. Guruji, the lifetime of such envious householders is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members.
In one verse, Shukdev Goswami is explaining how the life is wasted for Grhamedhi. During the day, they are working very hard or taking care of their family members. At the night time, they are wasting the time in sleeping and sex. So these are the things around which the Grhamedhi's life is revolving. Srila Prabhupada is giving the Atma Tattva. What is Atma Tattva? So let us read first few lines of the second paragraph of the purport. Because human life. We can't hear you, Mataji.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul, the whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge of concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Though
Yeah, fine. So the knowledge about how to remove the contamination of matter from the spirit soul is called Atma Tattva. So the human life should be focused on this Atma Tattva. That how we can actually remove this contamination of the matter from the pure soul so that the pure soul can realize the original constitutional position to serve the Supreme Lord. So that is what should be the focus of life, and that is Atma Tattva. But the Grhamedhis are blind towards that. And that is what is mentioned in the next verse. Deha Patya Kalatradesh Atma Sainyashva Sat Swapi Tesham Pramatto Nidhanam Pashan Apina Pashyati.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Translation.
Okay, Mataji, go ahead.
Okay. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life. Being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife, although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So the people who are devoid of Atma Tattva, they do not inquire about the birth, old age, death, and disease. They remain attached to the body, children, and wife. And Srila Prabhupada called them, actually in the Shukadeva Goswami is calling them as fallible soldiers. They are not eternal. They are not permanently going to be there. They are fallible soldiers. And although sufficiently experienced, the Grhamedhis are not able to see that properly. Pashyan apina pashyati. They are seeing it, but still not seeing it. So that means they are seeing, but not understanding. They are not registering. And how we are seeing it? Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that we have seen that our parents or our grandparents or our great grandparents, all of them, they have left this world. And based on that, we know that we are going to leave this world. Our children are going to leave this world. We are going to all die. But still, we continue to live as if we are not going to die. And we are not focusing on the ultimate goal of this human life. Let us read the last paragraph, the whole materialistic advancement. Who's next? Oh, only Mantramulam Prabhu is there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, Hare Krishna. The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everyone is dead body, flapping only for few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Sukadeva Goswami is pointing out the duty of a human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human activities. Persons who are devoid of knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided. But those who are devotees of Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. Thank you.
So these are some of the famous lines of Srila Prabhupada here. The decoration of the dead body. So we spend most of our life focusing on taking care of this body, which is actually dead. Matter is dead. Only because the spirit soul, which is within this body, that is why it appears to be alive. But it is a dead body. When the soul is gone from this body, we just burn it, bury it. So Srila Prabhupada is quite using some sharp words here, that the whole materialistic advancement, like everything that is happening in this material world, all the advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of dead bodies. And everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days. They're flapping like a fish out of the water. It keeps flapping. Just like that, we are flapping in this material world because we are not in our real position. The real position of the fish is within the water. Similarly, our real position is in the spiritual world. That is where we are going to be happy. But we are in this material world flapping and trying to be happy, try to do so many things, but we are not going to be successful in that. One thing that can actually give us the success is the knowledge of Atma Tattva, and then we will be able to. But those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. So if we get the knowledge of Atma Tattva, we'll not be bewildered. We'll be focusing on our original constitutional position, which is to serve the Supreme Lord. So Grhamedhis, unfortunately, are not able to see this, and they just continue to live a materialistic life. After explaining all of this, then from the next verse onwards, now Shukadeva Goswami explains what we should do then. Grhamedhis are wasting their life in all these materialistic activities. They are hearing so many news, social media, Netflix, and so many things, and that is not helping them. But what exactly we should do? So that's mentioned from the next verse onward. Text 5. तस्माद् भारत सर्वात्मा भगवान् ईश्वरो हरिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च स्मर्तव्यश्चेच्यता भयम्. Surananda Prabhu, sorry, earlier you were going to read as well, so
Okay. Thank you,
yeah,
Prabhuji.
you can
Thank
read
you.
this.
A descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries, must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries.
Yeah, very clear. So Shukadeva Goswami is not keeping it like doubtful or unclear that what we should be doing. He is very clear. He's saying that what we should do, that one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior of all miseries. And he is referring to the Supreme Lord in different names: Sarvatma, Bhagavan, Ishvara, Harihi. So whoever wants freedom from all these miseries, the seven miseries that, seven miseries that we generally talk, the four problems: birth, old age, death, and disease, and the three miseries which comes: Adhyatmika Klesh, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika Klesh. All these problems can be resolved by doing this. Shrotavya, Kirtitavyascha, Smartavyascha, and all this bhayam will go away. But Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, and Smartavya has to be done about Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari. If we are hearing Krishna Katha regularly, then all of these problems will be gone. We will no longer be part of this like 8.4 million species in this world. So Srila Prabhupada is talking about them, 8.4 million species in the purport. But out of this 8.4 million species, the human life gives us the opportunity to come out of the cycle of birth and death. And the formula is in this verse. And Srila Prabhupada is giving a step-by-step sequence. First, hear about the Lord from the right source. So if you want to actually get out of this cycle of birth and death, get rid of all these miseries, then first hear about the Lord from the right source. It is at the middle of the purport. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds. And thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. So first we actually hear, and when we have actually perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, then we will be able to glorify. So Shravanam, after that we'll be able to do Kirtanam. And when we have done Shravanam and Kirtanam like this, then the Smaranam is going to be possible. Otherwise, the Smaranam is not going to happen. So, Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, and Smartavya. They will happen in sequence. Okay, let us go ahead. Actually, if you see in the Bhagavad Subodhini, Prabhuji has, Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji has mentioned, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's reference, that Hari has been described in 3 different ways. Sarvatma, Bhagavan, and Hari. So that is because the Lord is described in 3 ways to indicate 3 types of bhakti. So Sarvatma has been mentioned. If someone has the desire for liberation, then they should hear about Sarvatma. One who is greedy to be fixed in devotion, like Raganuga Bhakti they want to do, then they hear about Bhagwan. And one who desires the Lord, who causes fearlessness, should hear about Ishvara. So mainly Vaidhi Bhakti that is referring to. So hear about Sarvatma if you want to get liberated. Hear about Bhagavan if you want Raganuga Bhakti, and hear about Ishvara if you want Vaidhi Bhakti. So application of this verse is very simple. Just understand which of these 3 that we are weakest currently. Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, and Smartavya. And because we understand the sequence, so if you think that you are not able to remember about the Supreme Lord, that is because we haven't done glorification of the Supreme Lord properly. And if you find that we are weak in Kirtan or Kirtitavya of the Supreme Lord, that is because we haven't done the Shrotavya properly. We haven't heard about the Supreme Lord enough, and we haven't heard about him perfectly and in a scrutinizing way. Many devotees are doing Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav courses. These are the times that we are doing this detailed study and we are scrutinizingly doing it. And then we are writing some essays, hopefully not using generative AI. We are writing some nice, good essays by meditating about the topic. And we are spending a lot of time, like 1 or 2 weeks, just about thinking about one topic of the essay, doing a lot of research. And then with that mood, if you actually start writing something, then it will be always in that Smartavya, Kirititavya and Smartavya will happen because we have done Shrotavya nicely. So that is the right process. Do hearing properly, then then it is possible that we can do Kirtan properly. And when we have done hearing Shrotavya and Kirtitavya properly, then we will be able to also remember the Supreme Lord. So this remembrance is explained further in the next verse. Etavan sankhya yogabhyam saswadharma parinishthaya janmalabha para pumsam ante narayana smriti.
The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life.
So Shukadeva Goswami is saying that whatever path one is taking, whether it is the path of knowledge, path of mystic yoga, or path of prescribed duty, swadharma, parinishthaya. But the mark of success is still one. And what is that? Remembering the Supreme Lord at the end of life. So smartavya at the end of the life. Antakale cha mameva smarana muktva kalevaram. Bhagavad Gita has also said the same thing, but here as well, Shukadeva Goswami is repeating that. That we have to hear, glorify, so that we will be able to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. And that is the mark of success. Whether you have passed the exam of human life or not, or failed, that exam is well known. The answer is also well known. But whether we remember the answer at the time of death is the challenge. And we will only remember the answer at the time of death if we have done hearing and chanting properly in the life. Then, when the exam comes, the surprise exam of death comes, we will be able to do Narayana Smriti. Ante Narayana Smriti. That will happen. So, whichever path you take, the end goal or the finish line is the same, remembering Lord Shri Krishna. So, this question is in a way answering Parikshit Maharaj's question about what should one do specifically at the time of, like, what a person who is about to die should be doing. So, Shukadeva Goswami has answered that whatever path, whoever is doing, the end goal is Ante Narayana Smriti. So, you should be able to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. So, the person who's about to die should always be remembering the Supreme Lord. And in the 19th chapter of first Canto, Srila Prabhupada clearly explained, everyone is falling in that category. We are all about to die. We do not know when. Well, some of us may actually die in a day or two, or in a year or two, or in 10 or 20 years, or maybe 100 years. But whatever is the time frame, we are all about to die. So one thing that we should all do is, we should always remember the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada is very clear. In the purport, he's saying that all these jnanis, karmis, or the person who's following Varnashram Dharma, how will they actually remember Krishna at the time of death? Srila Prabhupada is saying that this is only possible if they get association of a pure devotee. If you see towards the middle of the paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says this is possible only by the association of a pure devotee who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis, and karmis in terms of prescribed duties defined in the scriptures. So they may do all these different things, various different paths that they are following, but the finishing touch will be given by a pure devotee's association to their activities. And only then they will be able to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. Otherwise, they will not. And then he gives various different examples like Sanakadi Rishis, and then Nama Yogendras, and Shukadeva Goswami is also going to give his own example in the next few verses. So the key takeaway of this verse is the last line. Let us read that. Who's next? Amendra Prabhu? Are you done or?
No, Guruji.
Okay. Last line.
In other words, life should, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, In the other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life.
So every step of life, we have to remember Krishna and we have to mold our life like that. If we are able to mold our life in a way that we are able to remember Krishna at every step of life, then at the end of the life, we will be able to remember Krishna. Is that making sense? So this is the key takeaway from the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, that we have to mold our life in such a way that we have to put Krishna in the front and center of our life. If we are able to actually introduce Krishna in every step of our life, then we will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. So one key question that we can ask ourselves is, if my life ended today, then what would I likely be remembering? What kind of activities that we are mainly doing in our life? So that will dictate what are we going to remember at that end of life. So if my life ended today, what will I remember? So that will probably give us a wake-up call and we'll be able to adjust at least one habit uh, so that this answer becomes better next time we actually talk about it. Okay, let's go to the next one. प्रायेण मुनयो राजन् निवृत्ता विधिषेदतः नैर्गुण्यस्थारमन्ते स्म गुणानुकथने हरे. Who's next? Lochan Harini Mataji? Okay, Vikas Prabhuji, you can go.
O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord.
So Shukadev Goswami is explaining that the topmost transcendentalist, they are free from the three modes. So that if they are free from three modes, they will not be interested in anything material. So such transcendentalists as well are interested in glorifying the Supreme Lord. That clearly explains that Krishna Katha is not material. They are interested in Lord's activities. That's a definite proof that these are not from the material world. And Srila Prabhupada is, I'm quoting him like almost verbatim. Towards the middle of the purport, he says, the topmost transcendentalist is not interested in anything material. And his taking interest in the matter of the Lord's activities is definite proof that the Lord is not like one of us in the material world. So Shukadeva Goswami has given a proof that why we should be hearing Krishna Katha. That the self-realized, all the Atmavid, the transcendentalists, they are also always chanting the glories of the Lord, and they are doing Tushyanticha Ramanticha. Bhagavad Gita also says that, the 10th chapter. Okay, let us read 8 and 9 together. This is where Sukadeva Goswami is giving his own example. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sammitam Adhitavan Dwaparadav Pitur Dvaipayanadaham Parinishthitopi Nairgunya Uttama Shloka Leelaya Gruhita Cheta Rajarshe Akyanam Yadadhitavan.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. At the end of the Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father, Srila Dwapayana Vasadeva. O saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. Hare Krishna.
So Shukadeva Goswami is saying He's proving the previous verse's point, 6th and 7th verse, by giving his own example. As we can see, he is recognized as the topmost transcendentalist because all these assembled sages, they are all exalted. And still, when Shukadev Goswami arrived, they gave him the Vyasasana and said that you speak and you answer Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So that shows that Shukadev Goswami is very exalted. And Shukadev Goswami is saying that though situated perfectly in transcendence, he was already self-realized. But still he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord described by the enlightened verses. And that is why then Shukadev Goswami personally studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadeva at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Srila Prabhupada actually uses these two purports to make a different point. He says that this shows that even impersonalists, they take up Krishna consciousness. Oh, actually, it was made in the previous purports. Actually, in the 6th purport itself, Srila Prabhupada has made that point that the transcendentalists who are following other paths like Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, we can see that there are examples that they have actually moved on to Bhakti Yoga. But there are no examples where the Bhakti Yogis have moved to some other processes. They remain fixed up in their path. In this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually talking about that how Shukadev Goswami, who is so exalted, but still he had to actually learn Srimad Bhagavatam from another teacher, his own father, Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. And he's giving an analogy that you cannot, like, there are so many books available in the market on the anatomy of the body. But we can't just purchase those books, read them, and become a doctor. It's not possible. So similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be learned at home the way, just like that, you cannot become a doctor just by reading some books. You have to actually study under a bona fide teacher. There is no other way. If Shukadev Goswami has to actually hear it from Vyasadeva, then where is the question that we can think that I will read Srimad Bhagavatam on my own and I will understand it and I will become Atmavit. I will become liberated and I will develop love of Godhead. That's not possible. If we want love of Godhead, we have to actually read and hear this Bhagavatam under we have to study it under a bona fide teacher. And then this particular verse, 8th verse, is actually talking about that this is Brahma Sammitam. If you see, Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sammitam. Brahma Sammitam because it is the sound representation of the Lord. It is called Brahma Sammitam because it is a sound representation of the Lord. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Bhagavad Gita is a sound representation or sound incarnation of the Lord because it is spoken by the Supreme Lord Himself. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a sound representative of the Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about activities of the Lord. So Vyasadeva has spoken, and about Vyasadeva is the incarnation, and it is about the activities of the Lord. That is why both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they are Brahma Samhita. Okay. Let us see what is the Falashruti in the 10th verse. Tadaham te dhasyami mahapaur shiko bhavan yasra shraddhadhata mashu syan mukunde mati sati.
Hare Krishna. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari. Look at that. We have some benediction now here from Shukadeva Goswami. What is he saying? That I shall recite the same Srimad Bhagavatam that I heard from Vyasadeva to you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. And one who is giving full attention. So just like Parikshit Maharaj is very attentive in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, if we are attentive like Parikshit Maharaj, and we are giving full respect as well to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, that person achieves unflinching faith in Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Mukunda. Syan Mukunde Mati Sati. We will have unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord Mukunda if we are able to give full attention, full respect, and if we are a sincere devotee of the Lord. So that is what we have to do. We have to actually first of all, be sincere. And we don't have to be like a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj, but we have to be sincere like Parikshit Maharaj. Sincerity means that if we have taken a vow of chanting the 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offenses, attentively, then we should try as best as we can to do that. If we have taken a vow to follow four relative principles, then we should do as best as we can do. And we have to actually have association, have only prasadam, read scriptures, and then that is how every day we have to do. And then that is how we can show our sincerity to the Supreme Lord through our endeavors. And we have to have full attention and full respect towards Srimad Bhagavatam. If that we do, then we will develop unflinching faith towards the Supreme Lord. So that is what is possible. Let us read a little bit from the purport. It is around few lines from the beginning of the purport where it says, the process should not, however, whoever can find that, the process should not, however,
I can read it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
go ahead.
The process should not, however, be misunderstood to be something like magical feats, whereby the spiritual master acts like a magician and injects spiritual knowledge into his disciple, as if surcharging him with an electric current. The bona fide spiritual master reasonably explains everything to the disciple on the authorities of Vedic wisdom. The disciple can receive such teachings not exactly intellectually, but by submissive inquiries and a service attitude. The idea is that both the spiritual master and the disciple must be bona fide.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Mataji. So here it is explained by Srila Prabhupada that this relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple, it is not some magical thing where he touches the head of the spiritual master touches the head of the disciple, and suddenly some electric current will pass through his body, and then we'll suddenly get purified, we will get all the knowledge that we want, and we will then develop love of Godhead. So it's not like that. So it has to be done. It is not even happening intellectually. How it is happening is through submissive inquiries and service attitude. Two things. Both the submission is included because submissive inquiries and service attitude both requires submission, surrender to the spiritual master. And then we ask the questions in the right mood and serve, and then that is the way that we will make progress on this path. Let's move on. 11th verse. एतन्निर्विद्यमानानाम् इच्छताम् अकुतो भयम् योगिनां नृपनिर्णितं हरेर्नामानुकीर्तनम्.
O king, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna.
So, in this verse, it is explained that whatever is your desire, like the whatever reason why you have come into Krishna consciousness, whether you are having lots of desires, or you are desireless, or you are self-satisfied already, whatever is the situation, the chanting of the holy name, but not ordinary chanting, chanting of the holy name, following the ways of the great authorities, is the definite and the fearless method for success. And it is for everyone, no matter with what intention we have started the Krishna consciousness. So, Harer Namanu Kirtanam. So, that is the way. So, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This mantra Srila Prabhupada has given, like in these 2 consecutive chapters, the entire process of Krishna consciousness has come. So, sorry, in the 18th chapter, earlier it was like the 4 relative principles were given. And now here in the first chapter of second canto, we are seeing that Shukadeva Goswami, as soon as he came, he is saying Harer Namanu Kirtanam needs to be done. He has already summarized. This is the last verse in this series of verses that he has spoken, where he is establishing the superiority of bhakti. And in the end, he is saying that the chanting of the holy name is required. So every day we have to remember the Supreme Lord. Shrotavya, Kirtitavyasya, Smartavya. So these things needs to be done, right? So Shrotavya and Kirtitavya can happen through the Harer Namanu Kirtanam. So we are chanting and we are hearing. We are chanting and hearing. And that is not the only way, of course. We have to actually hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the perfect source, bona fide source. We have already discussed all of that. But we have to actually practice as well, right? So this practice or sadhana is of Harer Namanu Kirtanam. So this is the topmost yoga or topmost anga of the bhakti, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And in this verse, in this purport and the next, it's a quite long purport if you can see. And mainly Srila Prabhupada is focusing on the chanting of the holy name. When you are doing, you have to avoid these 10 offenses. So please read. I think most of the devotees are aware of 10 offenses that we have to avoid while chanting. Every day before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we recite these 10 offenses. But many times we just recite those as a habit, but then forget to implement them properly. So maybe some other time, if it comes again, we will talk a little bit more about the 10 offenses and what are some of the ways that unknowingly or knowingly we are committing those offenses. While we are thinking that we are trying to do offenseless chanting, we are still committing various different offenses of chanting, and we have to take conscious effort actually to remove those offenses from our life. Then the smartavya will be clear and easier. Okay. So before going into the next verse, let us look at the overview of there are various different places in these verses. The difference between Grhasthas and Grhamedhis have explained. Even in the last few verses as well, where those words haven't specifically came. This Grhastha and Grhamedhi words haven't come directly, but still we can see based on Grhastha being people who are interested in Atma Tattva, and Grhamedis who are not interested in Atma Tattva. Based on that, in the last few verses as well, we see some differences. So we'll see those in this next screen. So the Grhasthas, the primary goal that they have is to realize the ultimate truth. Whereas Grhamedis that we have seen, their lives is only for the benefit of the family and only material benefits that they are looking at. About their knowledge, Grhastha is aware of Atma Tattva, but the Grhamedis, they are blind to Atma Tattva. And what do they hear and chant? Grhasthas, they are talking about one subject, Krishna Katha. But whereas Grhamedis have thousands of mundane subject matters, political, scientific, social, so many. And what is their attitude towards others? Grhamedis, they are envious and jealous of others. So one Grhamedi is envious of the other Grhamedi. And when we extend that, one community is jealous of another community. One country is jealous of another country. Whereas we see Grihasthas, because they are focused on Krishna, they understand that everyone is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So they are looking at seeking the welfare of all. What is their daily routine? The Grihasthas are engaging in activities that produce attraction for the Lord. Whereas the Grhamedis are focused on their days, are working hard for family, and nights are going into sex and sleep. What is their security and faith? Where they are actually putting their faith? Grhasthas, they are dependent on Supreme Lord. But whereas Grhamedis are focused and their faith is into the fallible soldiers in the world. What is the consciousness at the time of death? Grhasthas are focused on Ante Narayana Smriti. They are remembering the Lord. But the Grhamedis are madly engrossed and does not see his own end approaching despite having experience. So they are Pashyati Apina Pashyati. What is that? Very nice. Pashyam Apina Pashyati. Yeah, Pashyan Apina Pashyati. Text 4 was mentioning that. Pashyan Apina Pashyati. So that is what is the difference. Now, as per the slide, it is an application slide, right? As we all know, when this slide comes, this is an application, learning slide. So we can see these differences between Grhasthas and Grhamedis and see where do we stand. It is not that just because we are devotees or bhaktas, sadhana bhaktas, that we are all in all categories falling into Grhastha category. We may be somewhere little bit 10% Grhastha, 90% Grhamedis, or in some categories now maybe 60% Grhasthas, 40% Grhamedis. So we can actually look at all of these and try to analyze where is my faith? When some difficulty comes, where do we actually look for security? Like, are we thinking that my insurance, my bank balance, or my properties, or whatever that is going to save me, or Krishna is going to save me? Look at our daily routine. Where is our, how much time we are giving to Krishna consciousness every day? What are we hearing and chanting? What is our main subject matter for a day? Like at the end of the day, if we look at our day, then what is our, what was my consciousness most of the time today? So all of these things, if we actually look at and put like a pointer on the scale of 0 to 10. So 0 is Grhamedhi and 10 is Grhastha. If we put a slider for each and see where we are actually standing. And then that will actually give us an idea where and how we can improve. Remember that the Grhastha and Grhamedhi, the difference is not the presence of the family. But the difference is the presence of Krishna in the center of home. So both Grhastha and Grhamedhi have their families with them. But Grhasthas have Krishna at the center of their home, whereas the Grhamedhi doesn't. So that's the main difference. So in each activity of our life, we have to actually put Krishna in the front and center. And then that way, our intelligence will move from the material activities to the Supreme Lord. Okay, let us move on. We have to cover at least 3 more verses before we finish. So this section 12 to 14 is talking about the quality of life matters, not quantity. And this is very, very important for all of us because at least Parikshit Maharaj knew about that he has 7 days remaining. But none of us knows like how many days that we have remaining, isn't it? So let us look at verse number 12. Kim pramattasya bahubhi parokshaiर्हाय नैरिह varam muhurtam viditam ghatate shreyase yatah.
Krishna. What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest.
So Parikshit Maharaj may be thinking at this point that this is a great advice, Shukadev Goswami, that you are giving me, that I have to do hearing, chanting, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the process of bhakti. But I have only 7 days remaining. Is it possible to do all of this in small period of time? So to encourage Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami has given these 3 verses. So he's saying a single moment, forget about 7 days that you're talking about, even a single moment of full consciousness outweighs a long life lived unconsciously. So a single moment of Krishna consciousness outweighs many years, like 100 years of life without Krishna consciousness. So this is the most important point that we should remember. That we may be, like, the quantity is not important. How we are living the life that we have is important. And then Shukadev Goswami is giving one example as well of Khatwanga Maharaj, that I am not just giving you this verse, but see, there is another, like there is a pramana, there is an example like that. Verse number 13. Khatwango nama rajarshir nyatve yattam iha yushaha muhurtat sarvam utsrujya gatavan abhayam harim.
The saintly king Katwanga, after being informed that the duration of life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the supreme safety, the personality of Godhead.
So whole pastime of Khatwanga Maharaj is coming into just one verse. So Khatwanga Maharaja's pastime, in one verse, Shukadev Goswami has explained. So King Khatwanga, he was a Rajarshi. And so he, of course, when he is mentioned as a Rajarshi, immediately we understand that he is Atmavit. He understands the Atma Tattva. And he knows what is the importance, what is the important thing to do in the life and what is not to be done. So once Srila Prabhupada gives the pastime, his story in the purport, once he was invited by Devatas to fight against the demons. So that also shows that he was quite valiant and very powerful. Not only he was a great king, but he was very powerful and strong as well. So he was invited by Devatas to fight with demons. And he fought very valiantly in the battles, and that pleased the Devatas. And they asked him to ask for a boon, that you ask whatever benediction that you want. So now Khatwanga Maharaj is in heavenly planet helping devatas, and he would have asked that give me all the enjoyment that you have for how many more years that I want. But he doesn't ask for that because he's a Rajarshi. He asks an important question to devatas. Please tell me how much more life that I have remaining. When am I going to die? So the devatas look at his chart and say that, oh, you only have one muhurta remaining. Now it is mentioned here like it is a moment, but actually a muhurta means 48 minutes. So you only have 48 minutes left in your life. So at that time, Khatwanga Maharaj doesn't think that, oh, 48 minutes. Okay, let me enjoy as much as I can in heavenly planet. He immediately leaves the heavenly planet and takes shelter, like he comes back to the earthly planet and he takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. And he makes his life perfect and he goes back to Godhead. 48 minutes. He was given 48 minutes. So Shukadeva Goswami is citing this example of Khatwanga Maharaj, saying that Khatwanga Maharaj was going to die in 48 minutes and then he made his life perfect. You have many muhurtas remaining in 7 days. You have much more time available than Khatwanga Maharaj. So definitely you can actually perfect your life in 7 days. It's amazing, isn't it? So Shukadeva Goswami is very intelligent preacher. He is understanding the problems that that his students or his audience may have, and he is removing those doubts even before they are asking those questions. Now this is very important section as well for all of us. So just understand that from the example of Khatwanga Maharaj and Parikshit Maharaj, that they were able to perfect their life in one muhurta or 7 days. So how can we focus our life and direct our life so that just if one muhurta is remaining in our life, if someone says that you only have 48 minutes left in your life, you're going to die in 48 minutes, what would we drop immediately? Okay, 48 minutes is too short. Let us imagine that we have 7 days remaining. Okay. What are the activities that we are going to drop immediately? Please write down this question and think it very seriously. If you only have 7 days remaining in your life, what are some of the activities you are going to drop immediately? And the second part is very important. Why haven't you dropped them now? If these are some of the activities that you are going to drop if you only have 7 days remaining, why hasn't it been dropped already? So just focus on this question, meditate on it, think about what are the activities that you can drop, and think about, can I drop it from now? Whether I have 7 days remaining, 7 years remaining, or 70 years remaining. If I had 7 days where I'm going to drop them, can I drop them even if I had 7 years or 70 years remaining? Because we are already identifying those activities as not required, not important for me. Okay, let us take one more verse and then we will stop. तवाप्येतर्हि कौरव्य सप्ताहं जीवितावधिः उपकल्पय तत्सर्वं तावद् यत् साम्परायिकम्.
Maharaj Parikshit, now your duration of life is limited to 7 more days. So during this time you can perform all those rituals which are needed for best purpose of your next life.
So Shukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that you have remaining 7 days. 7 days are remaining and you should prepare all the necessary rituals, activities for the next life in this next 7 days. And he's directly continuing the Khatwanga example as an encouragement to Parikshit Maharaj. That Khatwanga Maharaj had one muhurta, you have 7 days, so you have much more time, so you can use that time to perfect your life. So that is how he's encouraging that you improve the quality of life instead of worrying about the quantity that you have remaining. So I think that is where we will stop. What's happening here? Okay, anyway, so that is for the next week. 15th onwards, we will see next week. We will finish the remaining verses from this chapter next week. So let us see if there are any questions, reflections, comments, or any summary points anyone wants to say. Yes, Parminder Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, again a very nice lecture, and it re-emphasizes on your earlier sessions, which talks about mercy and endeavor, both. So mercy is the superficial guru from which you can hear, but you need to do your own endeavor as well if you want to go for Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Uma Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, the importance of remembering Krishna always and never forgetting Krishna any moment in our lives. That is the takeaway from today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mataji. Surananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Nicely explained, Prabhuji. It's a technical subject. So my takeaway is
That technical subject hasn't even started, Prabhu. This was the sweet part, or like in fact, Srimad Bhagavatam is sweet, but this is like a juicy part which was still going on.
Yes, Prabhuji. Great. So yeah, we need to understand the difference between Grhastha and Grhamedhi activities, and try to move away from Grhamedhi to Grhastha.
Nice. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Lochana Harini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. What a wonderful class full of nectar. Oh my God, I got no words to explain. So much to take away. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I've got a few questions. They're quite small, short questions. Before I forget, the previous question you just posed to us, that write down few things which we would like to drop if we know that we are going to die in 7 days. If nothing comes to our mind to drop, what does that mean? That we are entirely blinded? Or like when I started to think, what should I drop? No, I couldn't think of anything. I'm so sorry, but looks like I'm deeply so immersed in, materialistic, whatever you want to call it. But nothing comes to my mind.
So that means that you have to think more.
Think more, think hard.
Yeah, think hard.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. My second question was only if time allows, I can hold back and come back. Whatever
go ahead.
Prabhuji, when you were summarizing the first canto, and then one question quickly popped up, and I'm not sure if I've asked this question before, but I refer to my notes. So when Dhritarashtra burnt himself with the power of his, whatever he was practicing, I was wondering, Dhritarashtra had done all the bad karmas in entire life, and to become a mystic of that level where you can just think about burning your body and you just burn yourself, it takes a lot of time and lot of what do you call austerity. So how Dhritarashtra was able to get to that stage of mysticism when he could just think about death and he dies? So is it like some kind of previous karma he had accumulated, or what was that?
Yeah. So it is by the power of good instructions of Vidura. Because we actually talked about earlier as well in this canto on this chapter that we were talking about all these other the yogis, jnanis, and the karmis, when they get the association of pure devotees, they get the final touch. So similarly, Dhritarashtra, even if he has actually done many bad activities, one good thing that he has is the constant association of a pure devotee. Actually, many pure devotees which are around him. but he has ignored them for a long time. But Vidura, who has been actually constantly guiding him throughout his life, finally, one instruction he has accepted wholeheartedly. And that has changed his life. So because he has actually accepted that instruction, and very sincerely he is doing whatever yoga practice that he was doing, he was able to actually achieve what he achieved. Because again, now as well, we saw that it is not about the quantity of life, but the quality. Like in a small period of time, if you're actually very sincere and you're following the instructions properly and you're doing it perfectly, you will be able to achieve Krishna consciousness or purification of your heart in one moment. It is possible to do it in one moment. It doesn't have to actually go for the entire lifetime or hundreds of years or whatever. That is not required. In one moment, we can achieve it. So Dhritarashtra was somehow or the other, by following the instructions of Vidura, was able to achieve it.
Okay, that's a very
Okay.
nice context. Thank you, Prabhuji. And
Hare
one
Krishna.
final question is, how does the unflinching faith in Krishna looks like for us who are Grhasthas plus Grhamedhis and navigating in the middle of two things? So unflinching faith in Krishna can only be achieved, I think, when we are fully purified, Prabhuji, in the sadhaka stage. Is it still possible or it's not?
Yeah, in the process, like we have seen this before, that we start at the Shraddha level. Shraddha is faith, but it is not unflinching faith. But Shraddha to Nishtha, Nishtha is unflinching faith. So to go from Shraddha to Nishtha, there are multiple steps in between. So we have to actually have Shraddha, then association of devotees. And then we have to actually go to Bhajana Kriya. And Bhajana Kriya to Anartha Nivrutti to Nishtha. So all of this can happen. So when our anarthas are sufficiently removed, like sufficient purification has happened in the association of devotees, and by following the process, then the Nishtha will come. And that is why it is mentioned that by regularly reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in association of person Bhagavata, then we will be able to achieve that. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in association of in association of person Bhagavatam actually takes care of all of those intermediate, like the in between processes. So we are getting association, we are doing regular Shravanam. That means we are actually doing the regular process, and by regular hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, everything that is troublesome to our heart, that goes away. That is Anartha Nivrutti, and that is how we come to the stage of Nishtha.
Right, Prabhuji.
At the stage of Nishtha, we have firm faith in Krishna, and we are not worried about at that point whether he is supreme or not. Or maybe theoretically, sometimes people understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but they still haven't realized it. And many times then they start thinking that, okay, should I do this as well if I am in trouble, if I do that as well? So that happens. Plus, when some challenging situation comes in our life, at that time, the pure devotees are always looking at what can I learn from it? What Krishna is giving me, what signal Krishna is giving me here. But whereas those who are at unstable faith, they are thinking, why Krishna, you are doing that to me? So our consciousness changes, like from why Krishna, you are doing this to me, to Krishna, now that you have put in me in this position, what lesson that you are giving me in this situation? What do you want me to learn? And how do you want me to purify in this situation? So these are some of the changes that happens in our life.
That's amazing. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Bhageshwari Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking the effort to do the revision for the Canto one. It was quite good and also helpful. And the key takeaway for this first chapter is for me that we need to mold our life so we can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that was kind of in every step of life we need to mold our life to remember the Lord. So
Hmm.
that point I liked it very much, and it also feels like a kind of a practical thing where we need to see whatever the activities we are doing day to day life, whether we can put remember Lord, or are we actually putting Krishna in the center. That's kind of quite
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
Thank you
Yes,
so
that's
much.
right, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Bharadwaja Shri Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is slightly off topic, but it's related to topic only, slightly off. Mainly that, Sukadeva Goswami is only 16 years old at the time when
Hmm.
he actually came. And in his presence, in that assembly, like, Vyasadeva were there, like Narada Muni were there. Isn't that like generally etiquette that, the seniors would be given the seat to talk? And I mean, even, and also like within that 16 years, he also was like, impersonalist for some time.
Hmm.
So, so where did he, like Parikshit Maharaj got so much, not Parikshit, Sukadeva Goswami got so much purity? Like, what was the transition? Like, do you know any past history?
Yeah, yeah. So again, we are talking about the quantity versus quality. So quantity versus quality is like in this material world, we always think linearly
Mm,
about that this person is in Krishna consciousness for 10 years and this person is in Krishna consciousness for 20 years. So obviously the person who is in 20 years of Krishna consciousness is more advanced than the person who's only 10 years in Krishna consciousness. That is our general thinking. But in reality, that is not the case. So that this is a perfect example like that. And it doesn't mean that Vyasadev or Narad Muni are less realized than Shukadev Goswami. So many times, some of the senior devotees, they encourage their um, subordinates to speak. Like we see that some of the time when some Maharajas are there, and they may even ask some of their disciples or some junior devotee as well, they are speaking, and the Maharajas are sitting there and listening to the lectures. And the person who's sitting there and listening to the lecture is also, sorry, giving the lecture is also doing it with permission of those senior devotees. So it is not that because the senior devotee is sitting there and listening the lecture, that means he is less realized than the speaker. So the devotees who are really advanced, they are not thinking about he is senior, he is junior, like that distinction is not there in their minds. They are always thinking that the devotees are supposed to hear Krishna Katha from each other. So remember 10.9 Bhagavad Gita. It is Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha. So they are trying to always hear the Krishna Katha, and they want to actually find this uh, rasa in that Krishna Katha by always conversing about the Supreme Lord. So that is one point that we should note. So first of all, it is not um, the quantity or the number of years in Krishna consciousness proves who's more advanced. Second thing is, even uh, the person who's actually sitting as an audience need not be less advanced. Okay. And the third thing is, we saw that in the last chapter of when Shukadev Goswami arrived, Shukadev Goswami, like almost all the sages stood up, but we also talked about there, except for some of them like Vyasadev, and because they are more like in age as well as in their situation, position, they are his parent or guru or param guru, like that. So they remain seated. And Shukadev Goswami offered obeisances to them. So he reciprocated with each of them differently. So some of them he offered obeisances, which is to Narad Muni and Vyasadeva because his guru. And from that perspective, the Vyasadeva and Narad Muni is saying that how many years I am going to speak? Okay, let me give this opportunity to Shukadeva Goswami.
Right.
So that is also there. So all are they are all self-realized. They are all capable of speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
But in different situation, Krishna wants to glorify different devotees. So we saw earlier that Bhishma Dev was glorified. How that Yudhishthir Maharaj was given the counsel by Krishna, like Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. But Yudhishthir Maharaj was not pacified. But then when he took him to Bhishma Dev explained it in different ways. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj said, yeah, now I am convinced. Now, is that even logical?
Yeah.
How
Yes.
can you imagine this? That Krishna explaining to Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was not able to understand it, but Bhishma Dev explained and he understood it. So this is all the Krishna has his own plans, whom to glorify at what point in time. So he had decided that I want to glorify Shukadeva Goswami at this point. So the writer of Srimad Bhagavatam and Shukadeva Goswami heard it from Vyasadeva, but still Shukadeva Goswami is given opportunity to speak. So that is the situation. So, and going back to his background, so even though he is considered as an impersonalist before, so he was like 16 years of age. All 16 years he was in the womb. He was not outside. As soon as he came outside, he walked away. And when he walked away, Vyasadeva was running behind him saying that, hey, arey, come back, come back. But he was not ready to come back. He was hiding in the jungle. So Vyasadeva used a trick, as you know. So he actually asked his disciples to go around and chant some of these verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And when these disciples are loudly chanting, Shukadeva Goswami heard the verses and he said, wow, oh, this is so amazing. So when he is considered as impersonalist, it is not that um, he was Mayavadi. He wasn't a Mayavadi. He did not at that point in time, he was not focused on the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when he heard these wonderful verses glorifying the Supreme Lord, then he's thinking that, oh, I want to actually go and hear about this. So by coming in contact with the pure devotee, Vyasadeva, then he received that knowledge of personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is so interesting and so wonderful that he got attracted and he continued on that. And then, like that, he was wandering around after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva for many days, many weeks. It is not mentioned how many days, how many weeks. But after hearing, he came back, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva, and then he started wandering around. And that is when he came to meet Parikshit Maharaj. So again, it is not the quantity that how long he has heard.
Yes,
It
yes.
is how
Right from
sincerely.
it was from that verse where if we want to uh, worship the Lord, like not worship the Lord, if you want to follow the Lord in Raganuga Bhav, then we should be towards Bhagavan. Otherwise, it's Sarvatma. So in that verse, actually, the distinctions were there. So like my question was like it's like he didn't have much time where he actually
Hmm.
look towards Bhagwan. Rather, he was actually impersonalist. Like, what happened that really transformed him to be a pure devotee? So that, like,
The
was there
contact
any
of
pastime?
the contact of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, right, right.
Yeah.
Yes,
The contact of Srimad Bhagavatam through Vyasadeva has transformed him.
right, right. Yeah.
And it doesn't require much time. A
Yes,
moment is enough. One moment, one muhurta, 7 days are enough.
yes.
So for for Shukadeva Goswami, one moment is enough. Lava matra sadhu sangha.
And Prabhuji, even for Katwanga's case, like he just realized in a moment's time. But is it only that moment he changed, or did it his past activities and his past purity as well actually helped him?
Absolutely. There is no doubt about that, Prabhuji. So because he is already called a Rajarshi,
Mhm.
so he wouldn't have been called a Rajarshi if he was not a devotee already. But the important, just like Parikshit Maharaj, he's already a devotee.
Right.
It is not that in 7 days he became a devotee. Khatwanga Maharaj is also a devotee already. And in 48 minutes, when he understood that this is the situation, he immediately gave up everything else and completely focused those 48 minutes on the Supreme Lord. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj is also a devotee, but also he is doing all his other material duties and many things that he was doing. But when he understood he has only 7 days left, he said that, fine, I am done with my material duties. I have done it for many years. I only have 7 days remaining. I'm going to focus 100% on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what he did. So, for a materialist, it will be hard to perfect themselves in 48 minutes. For materialists, that thought itself will not come that I have to actually give up everything and focus on the Supreme Lord. For him or her, that 48 minutes, how can I do the maximum materially in my last 48 minutes or in my last 7 days? If a materialist is given 7 days, he will buy a world ticket to roam around the world so that he can fulfill all his desires, material desires. So that thought itself will not come unless there is a good contact uh, with a devotee and there is some initial shraddha, some faith has to be there. And then within 7 days as well, if that little faith is there in the beginning, they can transform themselves because again, it is not the quantity but the quality is important.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
And people can change their lives even in 7 days, like instantly. People can change their lives. And I've seen so many examples that I get surprised sometimes. How can like you just speak to someone and they start chanting 16 rounds from that point onwards and they continue whole of their life? It is just mind-boggling. Like my parents, I spoke with them one fine day about when they came to Wellington that I'm chanting 16 rounds. They had just kept their bags. I spoke with them that we are chanting 16 rounds, we are doing this, you also do it. They said, okay. And they started chanting 16 rounds from that day. They did not start, okay, I'll chant 1 round, I'll chant 2 rounds, I'll chant 4 rounds. And my father, like he continued chanting 16 rounds, he took initiation and he left his body as well, chanting 16 rounds every day. From that day till the end of his life, he continued chanting 16 rounds. And my mother also is
That
chanting
proves
16.
the association of a devotee, Prabhuji.
No, it is like I'm saying that this is like a change of heart can happen anytime, and it doesn't require a long time. In some situations, depending on how much obstacles that we provide in between, it may take some time. But for many people, it can happen just instantly. So it is quite interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Adi Devi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Very insightful lecture. And it really helped with some of these points about Khatwanga Maharaj and Parikshit Maharaj's last time remaining. It also, the point that you reinforced about getting through the 7 miseries of life. Birth, old age, disease, death, and the 3 kleshas, Bautik, Adhyatmic, and
Adidevik.
Adidevik. The way to do that would be through Shrotavyascha, Kirtavyascha, and Smartavyascha. So, hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord. And that is profound. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mukesh, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful lecture. I just wanted to share a couple of points that at the beginning of Bhagavatam that we had shared that came to my mind. I'd ask you similar questions that Bhadaji Prabhu had asked about Sudhiji Goswami Maharaj. And but that point in time you had mentioned, and it's true, you mentioned it today also, It's all Krishna's pastimes and these devotees becoming nimat or an instrument in performing those pastimes. Because Sukadevji Goswami, we know also is an elevated soul because he's a parrot of Radharani. Then before coming to Ved Vyasi's Grhastha and family, he heard as a parrot Srimad Bhagavatam from directly from Mahadev when he was reciting it to Parvati, and there's all those pastimes. So, and also one point that Sukadevji Goswami was not keen on sharing Bhagavatam initially. There's also a pastime where Narad Muni convinces him to come and recite this for Parikshit Maharaj. I just wanted to bring that
I haven't
again.
heard that part, the second part, but yeah.
No? Oh, okay.
No, I haven't heard that last part that you mentioned.
Okay. So
Is
we
there a
haven't.
reference for that from somewhere, Prabhu? Have you heard?
I'll try and find it, Prabhuji.
Okay.
I had read it somewhere that Sukadevji Goswami was going, and he was convinced and tricked into some discussion and convinced by Narad
Okay.
Muni to come to that
If
congregation.
you find something, if you find
Sure,
it, then please send it to me.
sure,
That will be
sure,
good.
sure, sure.
Thank you,
So,
Prabhu.
thank you so much. Thank you. It's a wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Roshan Harini Mataji, you have some further comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I allowed to ask one more question? I mean, I can keep it for
Okay,
later.
go ahead. One last one, and then we'll
Thank you so
finish.
much. Prabhuji, I'm quite intrigued with the Grhastha and Grhamedhi concept, which is very important for us to understand. So I was just wondering if you could please guide me or throw some light as to whether my activities are more towards Grhamedhi's category or Grhastha. So as you all know, we are working full time, and then apart from besides doing our daily sadhana, most of our work, most of my time goes into maintaining, cooking, cleaning, maintaining, etc., etc. So is that Grhamedhi's work? The consciousness is to obviously keep the house, maintained so that we can practice our bhakti and our daily materialistic duty as per normal. So do you think too much time consumed in doing the household is still the Grhamedhi category? Is it still in Grhastha?
See, it is all upon depending on the consciousness when we are doing these activities.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually say this multiple times, and many times we understand this theoretically,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that yes, I have to actually have a consciousness. I have to be Krishna conscious at work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the purpose that I am actually doing all these activities?
Mm-hmm.
But many times we actually don't practically look at that whether that is really happening in my life or not.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are actually working, initially we are, before coming into Krishna consciousness, we are mainly doing it for our own enjoyment, that we will work, we will get some money out of it, and that money is what we are mainly interested in, so that we can actually do all the materialistic enjoyment activities for ourselves and our family, and that is how we want to be happy. So that is our main goal, that we want to be happy. And we are actually going in a particular direction because that is the only way that we were taught. But when coming into Krishna consciousness, we actually find the real happiness, like how we can become really happy, which is to reconnect ourselves with the Supreme Lord, the relationship that we had lost, how I can reconnect myself, and through that reconnection, how I can realize my original happy situation and position. Because we are all Satchit Ananda. Ananda is already there. So how do I get that Ananda? Earlier we were try to get it from the material activities, and now we realize that that is only possible through the spiritual activities, which is called yoga. And we specifically start following the Bhakti Yoga process in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. So in this Bhakti Yoga process, the activities by which we are like, it is not the activity itself that decides whether it is a Bhakti Yoga or not. It is the consciousness by which we are doing the activities that decides whether it is Bhakti Yoga or not.
Yes.
So are we actually maintaining the same old consciousness that I will get this money and I will try to use this money for my own enjoyment, and then that is how I'm going to become happy? Or are we now actually starting to think that I am working for 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever I'm doing, so that I can maintain my body, so that I can actually continue my Krishna consciousness. And I can maintain my family, by which I can also make my children and my other family members as well Krishna conscious. Is that really our consciousness when we are working? Now, to the degree that our consciousness is like that, to that degree we are Krishna conscious. To that degree we are Grhasthas, not Grhamedhis. And that no one else will be able to actually say that about you. It is only you who would know what is your consciousness overall. And we can actually see practically as well from your own life, not others, like who is observing. You are observing your life more. So practically you can see how much Krishna conscious you are by seeing your consciousness.
That's
Okay.
wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Fine. Hare Krishna. Are there any other final questions, comments, realizations? Okay. No? Then we will stop here. Sorry. Before we stop, next week there is an exam for Bhakti Vaibhav students. So there will be no session. So we'll probably are not going to actually meet for 2 more weeks. So next week is the exam, and the week after, His Holiness Vedavyas Swami Maharaj is going to be here. So we will see if on Sunday morning now it is not possible. There is another program that we have organized. So we'll meet only after in the 3rd week now, from now. So till then, you continue reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Ambarish Maharaj Prabhu.
Ki jai.
Hare
Namaste
Hare
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.